Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 8th, 2026 City Council Roundtable and regular meeting. It is 6 p.m. City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Watton.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton.
Present.
Councilmember Tessman.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
The roll is complete. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for the roundtable meeting?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Watton, seconded by Councilmember Holloway. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The agenda is approved unanimously. The first item, the only item on the agenda is an executive session covering two topics. The first topic is a personnel contract. This is executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a public employee. And secondly, discussion of potential land use in unincorporated UGA. This is pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I. We expect to return from executive session at 6:55 p.m. All right, it is 6:55. The council is back from executive session. There being no further business before the council for the roundtable meeting, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Motion to adjourn the roundtable meeting from Councilmember Murphy, second by Councilmember Washington. Any discussion? Motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. We're adjourned from the roundtable session. We'll be restarting our meeting, the regular council meeting, at 7 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the June 8th, 2026 City Council regular meeting. Thank you for joining us. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Watton.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton.
Present.
Councilmember Tessman.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
The roll is complete. We have a quorum.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Washington, would you please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holloway, second by Councilmember Washington. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
Move to add contract for employment to the end of the appointments portion of the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Holloway to amend the agenda. Did you mean to add that at the F&A section or in the appointments section?
I believe that there may be someone who may or may not want to wait until then.
Okay, all right. Any discussion of the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any further discussion of the amended agenda? Councilmember Johnson.
Move the discussion of potential best land use in unincorporated UGA to immediately following public comments.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Holloway. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The amendment is passed. Councilmember Cotton.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move the discussion of data centers up
to the same time frame, before or after the UGA discussion.
Second.
Which, before or after?
What would be the preference?
After.
After.
Okay, motion moved by Councilmember Cotton, second by Councilmember Murphy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
The motion carries. Any further discussion of the amended agenda? Councilmember Johnson.
Move to suspend the rules to allow for public comment on the potential best land use and unincorporated UGA during the public comment session.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Cotton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Any further discussion of the amended agenda? Seeing none? All those in favor of the amended agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The amended agenda is passed. First item tonight is appointments. Tonight, I am pleased to announce my appointment of Andrea Lenner as Snoqualmie's next city administrator and to present that appointment to the City Council for confirmation. Andrea currently serves as Deputy City Administrator for the City of Issaquah, a city with a strong reputation for professional management. In that role, she has overseen multiple city departments, managed significant operational responsibilities, and has also served as acting city administrator. She spent approximately 12 years in leadership roles with the City of Issaquah and has prior experience in economic and community development in other King County cities. She holds a Master of Public Administration from the University of Washington Evans School of Public Affairs. This was a thorough and highly competitive recruitment process. We were fortunate to have several exceptionally qualified finalists, and I appreciate the time invested by residents, staff, and council members throughout the recruitment process. Andrea stood out through her leadership experience, professionalism, collaborative approach, and clear understanding of municipal government. I was particularly impressed by her ability to combine long-term thinking with the day-to-day leadership required to turn priorities into results. Her experience in a neighboring community also gives her familiarity with the regional issues, partnerships, and opportunities that affect Snoqualmie and the Snoqualmie Valley. I appreciate the council's participation throughout the process and request that the council confirm this appointment. Councilmember Johnson.
Move to confirm the appointment of, is it Andrea or Andrea? All right, Andrea Lenner to the position of city administrator.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Washington to approve the appointment of city administrators. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Murphy.
I just want to thank, really recognize the administration for running a transparent process here. It was great to see the qualifications of the candidates. I also want to just say I'm very excited to support this nomination. I think we have an excellent candidate in Ms. Lenner. I think the interview process and her qualifications were just outstanding. So I'm very excited to welcome you to our community, and I'm sure other council members are excited to work with you.
All right, see no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The appointment is unanimously confirmed. There will be additional opportunities to hear from Andrea when she begins serving as Snoqualmie City Administrator on July 6th. For this evening, I would like to invite her to offer a few brief remarks.
Is the mic hot? Yes, it is. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Andrea Lenner, or Andrea, or however you want to pronounce it. I will answer to anything. I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, members of council. It was a great process for me and getting to know the community as well, and staff and council members. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity, excited to be here, and really excited to start on July 6th. So I look forward to working with you all, and I'd love to stay for the entire meeting. However, I have another city council meeting I still have to go to. So just appreciate the opportunity and really look forward to rolling my sleeves up and starting work here. So thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item, presentations. First presentation.
Point of order.
Excuse me?
Point of order.
Yes,
I believe the next thing is a contract.
that's what this X means. Contract. Yes, Councilmember Johnson.
Would you like me to read the introduction or just the proposed motion?
Introduction and motion, please.
The city recently concluded the city administrator recruitment, and the mayor has selected Andrea Lenner as the next city administrator. Move to authorize the mayor to execute the city administrator contract with Miss Andrea Lenner.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, second by Councilmember Washington to approve the contract. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The contract is approved. All right, now moving on to presentations. The first presentation tonight is from the Department of Corrections, and they're presenting on the Class 4 Work Crew Program, coming here at your requested invitation, Council. And welcome, and we're looking forward to your presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Phil Bennett, Deputy Director of Public Works and Parks. I'm here to introduce Arben Kaloika, and Arben is the statewide classification manager for the Department of Corrections, and also Dan Allen, who is the superintendent of the Monroe Correctional Complex, where our crews come from. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I think I don't need the mic, but so thank you for having us here tonight. We're pleased to come here in front of you and talk about Department of Corrections, to what we do, what Department of Corrections is about, and our partnership. Normally this doesn't happen. We don't go out and about, talk to people. Mostly people, they're either not interested in what we do, or if they're interested, they come and visit us at the prison, and that's how we go about it. But as far as a quick introduction, as Phil said, I've been with Department of Corrections for 22 years. Mostly have done my time over at Monroe Correction Complex. Started as a custody officer, moved to a different position. Now, on my current position, I work for headquarters and the capacity as a statewide classification manager.
Again, I'm Dan Allen. I'm one of the superintendents. We have two superintendents. I'm the second one at Monroe Correctional Complex. Quite huge. It's like the second largest facility in the state. I've been with the Department of Corrections for 26 years. I too started as a correctional officer and worked my way up to superintendent. I've touched every level from officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, associate, and now where I lie as a superintendent. So I've been doing that for 26 years, and all of it's been at the Monroe Correctional Complex. So, and I'm happy to be here and talk about the programs that we do offer here to your city. So, thank you.
So a little bit about Monroe. I don't know if you guys have done research or know anything about Monroe Correctional Complex. We're one of the oldest prisons in the state. The Washington State Reformatory was built in 1910. It's a complex. It's 365 acres, and it's got 5 different facilities going from max custody to medium. We have special offender unit, or actually we call it Sky River units right now, that houses individuals that have high mental health needs. Minimum security unit. These are the individuals that come and work around the cities, and these are individuals that have 6 or less years to their release date. So they're transitioning basically. To kind of understand this program that I'll be talking about is making the connection to what we do as a department, because this is just a very small program compared to everything we do. So my thinking is, as we go through the slides, to make it a little bit more interactive. If you guys have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask questions. We can, kind of make it more, like a dialogue than anything else, but us presenting over the entire slide. Does it sound okay?
Absolutely.
Yep, all right, we'll roll.
All right, so again, as you see on the slide over there, what our department mission, vision, and commitment is: improving public safety by positively changing lives. And our vision is working together for safer communities. And our commitment to the population and the communities is to operate a safe and humane correction system and partner with others to transform lives for a better Washington. So partner like, the cities like you and different agencies. Our values is cultivating an environment of integrity, of trust. Corrections, we value the partnership, and pretty much we're committed to doing what we say we want to do, what we need to do, or we want to do. Respectful, inclusive interactions, people safety, positivity in words and actions, and finally supporting people's success. So correction is committed to the community that we serve, understanding incarcerated individuals that we manage, instilling hope, embracing change, and providing opportunities. Who do we support? So just to have a general idea of our department, we and our vision to make the communities safer by positively transforming lives. Each year, in average, we manage 25,000 individuals to either they are in total confinement or out on supervision or in between the transitioning. And half of the population is confined and the other half is in active supervision. And there you have the data charts as far as the racials, based on the percentage and everything else. So 90% is men's and 10% are women. Just a general idea for everyone, I guess, is that 95% of people that come into prison, they do release, they come back to the communities. So strategic priorities and goals, our main priorities are safe and humane systems. So we strive to, first of all, operate safer prisons, because that's what public expects of us, right? People come to prison to be there and keep them safe there, keep staff safe there, and obviously the main priority is the public, so they remain there. They don't escape. They don't go back out. And then we do that by cultivating a human-centered approach to the work that we deliver. EDIR culture that we foster there. EDIR stands for equity, diversity, inclusion, and respect. So we do that by, everything we do, making sure that every person is welcome and they feel that they belong there. To include staff, population, everybody that we're in contact with. Successful transition, that's our ultimate goal, obviously, is providing each incarcerated individual that comes through our system to have personalized support, including everything that they need as far as including knowledge, skills, abilities, and everything that made them come to being incarcerated, so they can be successful, so they can re-enter communities and be better. Our goal is to make them good neighbors, because they're going to be somebody's neighbor, might not be your neighbor, might be my neighbor, might be somebody's neighbor. So we strive to make them better neighbors. and obviously healthy and engaged workforce. So we foster positive support environment for staff and everybody else that works there. So a long time ago, we realized that, making them better neighbors and supporting their reintegration to society and community. Just thinking that locking them up and throwing the key away, obviously, in a punishment way, that was not giving us any results or good results. Ultimately, we spend taxpayers' money, right? So, and the money that we're spending towards, keeping people there and bringing them back to the community didn't work. So we kind of changed the way how we deal with the population. And talking about human-centered focus, we collaborated or partnered with different agencies and states and countries. And we like, the Norway Correctional Service idea or how they operated their prisons. Their belief is that people go to court to be punished, and they go to prison to become better neighbors. So we took that and we're running with it, and we're actually the pioneers. We're at the forefront compared to any other agency in the country when it comes to how we manage people, how we deal with people, and everything to make them better neighbors. So again, talking about our ultimate goal is successful transition. And again, we do that by personalized support in everything that I said initially, with including knowledge, skills and abilities. So we initially, we had that, how we managed them was pretty much in a way that one size fits all, meaning that whoever comes to prison, they all gonna do one thing. You're gonna go to school, you're gonna go to work, and you're gonna do this, but the programming was not tailored to their needs. And the money that we're spending was not well spent in a way, because everyone that comes in there have different needs, right? They, based on the crime, let's say somebody has done burglaries, breaking into people's house and everything else, they most likely have a substance abuse need. So instead of just giving them a program that might not be beneficial to them, we kind of identify what their high needs are: mental health treatment, or substance abuse treatment, or the GED, or working skills, and so on and so forth. So we kind of tailor those needs based on, what their needs are to kind of get ready for to enter the community. At any time, you guys can raise your hand and ask questions. And again, re-entry starts at the reception. So we don't prepare people on their last 6 months going out of the prison. Everything that we do is when somebody comes into prison initially, that's what the case management reclassification does. We kind of plan their life when they're in prison. When somebody comes in, not only they by courts kind of decide what they need to do there, mandatory programming per se. So and part of it is tailored to their sentence. When they come in, a third of their sentence is calculated into their time, how much time they're going to do in prison. And if they don't program, or they don't go to school, or get working skills and so on and so forth, that can be taken away. But the re-entry started initially when they come in. So that's the facility phase, and then they transition over to when they go out to re-entry centers, graduated re-entry, when they go out and home monitoring, and when they stay with the family and they work and do those things as well. And community phase, when they're more stable and they become productive members of the community.
Councilmember Testman.
Yes.
Maybe two questions in one, and it goes back to the Washington way, but when did Washington adopt the Norwegian model, and what has the impact on recidivism been, if you know?
That's a great question.
So I'll speak on that. So we have had sent dignitaries out to Norway to see how they do their process. And just like anything else, Norway may work for them, but it doesn't necessarily work for Washington. You're talking about a socialist society and we have a democratic society. So we have changes of presidents and governors and all those kind of things. So this is more, we call it the Washington way. And ultimately it's just a humane interaction and dealing with the population and staff. In the 26 years I've been in prisons, I started where it was very violent and it's progressed into more of a interaction that is human and just a human interaction with boundaries, of course, that you try to build these kind of relationships. You try to instill hope in these individuals that have had traumatic life moving through. And we try to instill the hope that things will get better and we integrate with them. As a superintendent, you think I sit in an office. I don't. I'm out walking around in the population. I'm doing tier checks. I'm helping. I'm doing things to support the staff and the facility to be operationally solid. Just like in prisons, a lot of times you don't know what you expect every day. Every day has something different. But ultimately, in the 26 years I've been there, this is probably the safest I've seen it in my 26 years. So
Councilmember Cotton.
Washington Way is more a human approach.
Thank you.
Yes, I was very interested in reading through your presentation and really glad to see the progression of proactive thinking about, this approach. I have been in emergency services for almost 50 years, and we would go into many of these lockdown situations. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely been progression. And the fact that you guys did this proactive approach by going out and seeking input is really quite amazing. And I'm glad to see that we're kind of leading the forefront on that. I'm actually getting to a question, which is, do you find that, especially with the community work crews, that that this is something that's sought after? People want to do this, and as part of their rehabilitation, as you will. And also, a second part is, do you find that most folks that come in are actually proactive in their own rehabilitation? In other words, signing up for education and these types of programs?
So I guess that's like a three-part question. So I'll kind of try to hit it as much as I can. So as far as our community work crews, we back in the day, we used to have many options. We used to have DNR, we used to have CI asbestos. We had plenty of other jobs with budget cuts and staffing reductions and unit closures. We have limited those options to pretty much what we have is CWC and roads and grounds and some automotive and maintenance and stuff. So we've been diminished as far as what we can offer to communities. So CWC, yes, it is a sought after job because one, it gives the individual the ability to go out and do something positive, i.e. going out into the community, making beautifying things and putting something that they didn't do before they came into prison. Most of them just cared about what they cared about. Now they care about what they're doing, and they're doing something that's good. In fact, the other day I was walking through MSU and talking to a couple of the incarcerants, and one of them was on the phone and he was telling his mom about what he was able to do. And so that's a positive thing, right? That's just one moment in time, but that's just one person and it's another person. And most people, it's a sought after job because it gets you not only out of the facility, out there doing something that's positive, but it gets you out there being able to have some value in what you're doing and having that hope moving forward that, hey, it's not always going to be in prison. I'm going to be out there in the community and I'm going to have some skill set. And that skill set is building connections within the communities, having conversations with work crew supervisors, being out there doing something positive and saying, I did that. And so that's the big piece. And so, yeah, I would say they're sought out. And obviously those things are individuals that do come out are very highly scrutinized and screened. It's because obviously safety and community is one big component we have to look at. And so those guys are highly vetted. And so it is, to me, it is a sought after job.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Murphy.
A shorter question. What is the hourly wage for the community work program for the individuals who participate?
obviously, that is regulated by the legislation, right? It's not something that the prison sets the standard. It's $2.75 an hour, $2.75 an hour, and it's the highest they can get compared to any other job in prison, right? If it's a privilege of them coming out and working outside of here, you know, because we have different layer of security there, right? The first layer is you're not allowed to leave the prison or camp setting. The 2-layer is you're working outside the gate, you're, you know, taking care of 365 acres, everything they do, right? Maintenance, electrician, landscaping, everything, they work outside of there. And the 3rd layer is working out, you know, and helping out communities, but they do get paid more than anybody else.
Councilmember Johnson.
So then well, not to jump too far ahead here, but kind of dovetailing off of that, it looks like in the presentation, you said there are 18 contracts and that's total across the state?
Or not across the state, this is only for our region.
Okay, so this is just King County area. Okay. So then would it be those contracts that would ultimately be paying that wage as opposed to the state covering that hourly wage? Or is it some combination? Like, I guess maybe a better way to ask it is, do the contracts cover the cost or do the contracts cover some of it, but there's a lot of compensation to the department from the state to cover the rest of the cost?
Well, the contracts cover the cost of, you know, what they get paid for, but that's something that doesn't depend on us as the department setting the standard rate per se. It's the legislation. And the second thing that probably might be an issue with that is because we have had before when incarcerated individuals inside the prison were making minimum wage working for the microjet at the time. You know, they're cutting steel and everything else and doing high skill level work. And other companies on the outside, they're not happy with it because now they're competing with, you know, it's not fair competition per se. So there was a lawsuit and everything else. I don't know all the ins and outs, but you have to think about the big picture here. And then it's not something the Department of Corrections is going to set the, you know, what the wage is going to be for these guys. It's legislation. I don't know if it answered your question, but.
More or less. Could I just feel thought then? So I guess I'm trying to get at is for the program as a whole, not just the wages themselves, but I guess as a whole program, is it fully paid for by the contracts that are made with the program, with the Department of Corrections, or is there also state funding on top of that?
I'm
to cover the rest?
gonna say there's state funding because it's just like anybody that's been in business and you have workforce, you have people that take annual leave, you have SL, people calling sick, and we have what's called overtime. And sometimes those positions are covered by overtime, which is not covered under the contract. So that's just a base amount that it is being funded for that or paid for. And then after that, the rest comes out of my operational budget.
Okay, thanks.
And you have to think about everything else we buy for the workers, right? Because each day that they come in, they change their clothing, right? They come in the morning, they change into the work clothing, come back with everything in laundry. So they get and boots and everything else we buy, all the equipment and all that.
I mean, if you think we're making a profit, no, there's no profit.
But
I don't either.
they're very proud working out. You have to talk to these guys, and we're thinking about it. Well, can we probably have somebody talk to the city council and actually ask them direct questions? But to have that kind of general feeling, you have to come in prison, visit the prison, and talk to these guys yourself. And you'd probably have a different, you know, view on how.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cotton.
I was gonna say, I actually have had lived downtown here where they work not only for our city, but also for the Railway Museum. And the train runs right in front of my house. And so I've been out chatting with them and, they love it. I mean, being outside, especially when the weather's good, I have to say, but they've been very pleasant and professional. So, yeah.
So reentry, Washington joins reentry 230. So what's I don't know, probably most of you have heard about the reentry 230, but reentry is an initiative nationwide, and the goal is to improve reentry success for people come in and exit the prison and when they go out in the supervision. And it emphasizes the importance of providing holistic support to the individuals during the transition, as you know, the high needs they have as far as the housing goes, the job placements, and the high needs for, you know, treatment when it comes to mental health and substance abuse and so on and so forth. And the goal is by 2030 is to not release any individuals homeless and have at least 40% of them have a job, because the stigma that goes into incarceration, somebody who's a convicted felon, it's not, they have a hard time finding jobs. But we do a lot of that now. We've been bringing communities coming into the prison and doing job fairs, actually. You know, we did that twice last year to, you know, bring in employers come in the prison and have a regular job fair. They're gonna go outside and, you know, attend the job fair. That's what we do there as well. And just to kind of break that stigma of incarceration. So these are some of the reentry programs that we offer there, you know, targeting family, relationship, building skills, and, you know, therapeutic and support for different things and needs that they have. There's just a small portion of it. Another idea is we have the communities that come into our, you know, prison every day. We have 350 volunteers that come in and volunteer at Monroe, and they offer different programming as well.
And I know you guys have this too, so we'll move along because I know you guys have a big agenda, so we're going to try to move forward.
So we talked a little bit about it, what the benefits are. Obviously is building skills and rebuilding their relationship with the communities. So we talked about what this is, and it's a supervised program that provides reduced costs to public agencies and nonprofit. And, you know, we have 5 crews that work out, that manage 18 contracts, 45 to 50 individuals. That's it. Cheers.
Sorry, Councilmember Holloway.
Okay, so now we're into, so for those who are workers in the program, is there a limitation on the offenses? What are those limitations of the offenses that makes them eligible for that? How does the individual inmate become into the program? And there was one other question of all these, but those were really the concerns, some of the concerns and questions that we really wanted to hear from you on via that contract when it came in front of us.
So obviously there's very, very strict screening, a lot of filters when it comes to that. I touched a little bit when I said that this is the highest level of screener that you get to go outside the work community. Just the base people that are housed at the camp setting, they have 6 years or less to their release date. And now within the last 18 months, they have the opportunity to go out to transition to either to reentry centers or to go to graduated reentry. They're in home monitoring basically, or different parenting programming they have. So they have a short window for them to be, you know, in this type of setting. So what kind of crimes? We kind of filter them for everything. We make sure they don't have any crimes that they have. They don't have any victims of where they, you know, the communities they work, Snoqualmie area. Let's say if somebody committed the crime in Snoqualmie County and they have a victim anywhere nearby to those cities that we serve, they don't get offered that program. Any other sex offenses, they're completely excluded for people having that opportunity to be part of the work group. And we look at the violence they have, you know, crime-related violence or prison discipline. They have anything related to violence, the drug-related things. Let's say a couple of criteria is they have to be drug-free infraction for a year to be part of this program. They should be without having any violence, let's say fights or assaults for same thing as a year, at least minimum a year. So we look at the best candidates working outside that we know that they're not gonna cause trouble.
But it's not limited to non-violent
It's not.
offenses.
Because some of these guys that have come in, you know, they've been in prison for 20 years. They came in as teenagers. Believe it or not. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
believe it.
remember a case that I knew him since I was, started there 20 years ago, and he came in when he was 18. They never been outside. They have no idea how a cell phone looks like, or how things have changed. So give them the kind of opportunity to actually go outside. And these are the individuals, believe it or not, they do better than individuals that come in, do a short amount of time, and then go back out and probably come back. They're more sauce. They want to do well, right? So we don't limit that based on that, but we look at all the screening criteria, making sure that, we do the best we can to,
And these individuals have progressed to the minimum security
absolutely.
area within the whole system. Okay.
It's a whole different classification system that we filter them through and making sure that they make it to the minimum setting. So there's a lot of filters in place.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes, in reading some of the background on this, I stumbled upon a news clip that talked about how maybe not in the CWC, but in some other work programs, the individuals, there was some discussion of them being forced to work or they didn't have the choice. So can you talk about a little bit how the individuals come into the program? Is it something they're required to do? Is it strictly voluntary? If you could speak to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Is it question tied to this program itself or in general?
This program itself.
So this program itself, when they come in, obviously to come to prison, you have to program, it's mandatory because that's tied up with the sentence. So based on the needs that you either have to, go to school, they have to complete the treatment, or you have to work, or a lot of people do several of them to stay busy.
Mhm.
This program is considered a privilege, so a lot of people want to get in as far as that goes. So most of the time, we don't force them. You have to work for CWC. It's a privilege. A lot of people, very few make it to get to come to, be part of this program. So we don't force people to do that per se.
Because the other jobs are maybe less desirable. Okay.
And then, and ultimately, as a superintendent, and you have some individual that may not want to be out in the community work group, and may or may not be an issue, I don't think we're going to take that risk. Ultimately, we want people that want to be willing to do that, because you're going to get a better person, somebody who's going to do good work and be willing to do those things that most people don't want to do. I mean, obviously, they go through trenches, they're digging out ponds, they're doing all kinds of stuff. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're putting the right people out there and the people that want to do that kind of work. And ultimately, I think there's value in that. And I think at the end of the day, these individuals see something that they didn't see along their prison sentence, that they looked upon as anything that they valued. And I think they do, there's value in that. They see a finished product at the end.
A lot of them haven't heard saying thank you
Yeah.
or good job. You're doing amazing work. Right? So that goes a long way.
All right, so we've used up our time.
Yep.
So
Again, this with your city, we have one of the the longest and solid partnership, and probably more than I do as far as what they do here. But yeah.
Okay.
We do a great job.
Any further questions?
thank you.
All right, thank you. Now,
Very much.
I hope you enjoyed the drive down. The drive from Monroe to here that hour-long drive is one of the most beautiful in the country, certainly in the state. And so I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Then is the next item you as well,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bennett?
Actually, all the presentations are Parks and Public Works.
Good evening, Philip Bennett, Deputy Director, Parks and Public Works, presenting to you this evening on the Urban Forest Improvements Program and the planned project for 2026 to replace some street trees. So stepping back into the context for the program, we do have elements in the comprehensive plan that address the environment and urban forestry in particular. And you can see the policy at the bottom there. We also did some planning in 2014. We did an urban forest strategic plan, and that laid out a vision and some actions to drive forward the environmental health and the urban forest of the city. And so that's kind of the roots of this program. So, but it also solves a problem. We're solving a problem. So if you look at the screen, the picture says 1,000 words, but I'll say a few more. You're looking at 8 inches of topsoil on top of glacial till, which is not soil. If you look closely, you can see a puddle of water, which is where the contractor chipped out material that is much like concrete to put the original tree 20-something years ago. Physics takes over at some point and the wind blows and the tree comes over. That's one possibility. There are others. But we've had issues. We've had significant issues. Yours truly has spent some sleepless nights dealing with these issues in windstorms. And beyond the issues are a degradation in the resource and the benefits it provides to the community. So these trees are there for stormwater retention. That doesn't work when they're lying on their side. They enhance property values. So there's a lot of value to the adjacent real estate. And again, the loss of the trees means a loss in that value. And then there's the energy costs to the shade that they provide. So those are problems when we're seeing decline and we're seeing these issues.
Right, Mayor.
Councilmember Johnson.
And then, I'm sorry, maybe you said it, I just missed it, but it also, with the shallow roots can undermine the adjacent sidewalks.
Correct. Had we been here 20 years ago, we would have done something different. If you look at that picture, I mean, I'm not sure what to say. That was a bad choice. And so we're now dealing with this. We've now got the ability with the Urban Forest Improvements Program to improve the soil conditions. We've got the resources to be able to install soil for these trees. And with that soil comes anchoring stability. With that soil comes longevity. With that soil comes less infrastructure conflicts, such as with the sidewalks that you mentioned, Councilmember Johnson. We also know that we need to do drainage, that the glacial till underneath, because it's impermeable, there needs to be a drainage system, an under drain in the planter strips as well. And we know that there were some poor choices with the types of trees, the species, and we're fixing that slowly. What have we done so far? We had to make sense of this. We had to come up with what do we replace first and why. So we did that based on data. We made a criteria for what should be replaced based on things like site conditions, infrastructure conflicts, resident concerns with trees, and so on. We've also developed specifications and designs to achieve the goals of the program. So we know how much soil to put in, what type of drainage system, what types of trees, and so on. And with this program, which was funded by Mayor and Council made a decision to fund this in 2020, we're able to tackle this and start making a difference at that scale, which we're grateful for. And our residents are too. And we have done actually 5 streets now since the program inception. We've actually replaced trees along 5 streets. We don't just go from year to year blindly. We have lessons learned from each project. So it's improving over time. And each project that we do, we have a debrief. And then the first step of the following project is, what did we learn last time? How can we make some improvements to design, to other elements of the program? And on that note, we decided it was time to take a look at the original criteria that we built in 2026 and update it based on our experience and also some feedback we received. I won't go into each of these, but number 2, aphids were an issue that we heard about from residents. They were really upset about this. For us as a staff, we didn't rate that as highly in the initial criteria, but the feedback told us, wow, this is a problem, right? This is what we're hearing from the community. So we responded to that and we changed the weighting based on that concern. We also considered a factor that we hadn't in the original criteria, which was, what is the canopy cover? What is the available shade? What are the number of trees that surround this particular street? Is there a lack there, a predisposed lack to begin with? And so we've adjusted the criteria for that. And then the last point is that a lot's changed in 6 years. We've had hundreds of trees fail, like the one that you just saw. So we had to account for change in site conditions and change in the field, and that changed the order a little bit. So our new prioritization, we're looking at what are the trees worth keeping, right? So what's worth keeping for a while and trying to get those through. Where's the infrastructure damage happening? Where are the sidewalk panels being pushed up the most? So that's an element in this. And then again, where can we boost the urban forest canopy? Which census blocks have less canopy and less benefits than others? So we went through that exercise and we generated a new priority order. And so on the map, red is highest priority, orange second, yellow third, and green fourth. And so we ranked everything and scored it. The numbers you see on there are the individual scores of the streets, not the ranking. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the actual scores of all those factors I described. And we have a planned project for 2026. This project's actually out to bid right now. That project is Thompson Avenue. It had the highest score. It's our number 1 priority. And so we're looking at 1,500 feet of planter strip improvements, all new soils there, 60 to 80 trees. We're going to address the drainage, repair the sidewalk damage, ultimately increase the tree canopy coverage. But probably most of all for the residents on Thompson, who I've got a long relationship with, we are going to get rid of the aphids for them once and for all. And then a look ahead. So the next 6 years or so, we've mapped out, what's next, right? So I want to point out that there is something going on there at the bottom of the screen with the order. So if you notice, Southeast Kinsey Street actually scores more than Southeast Burroughs Way, and yet we're replacing the trees. We're planning on replacing the trees on Southeast Burroughs Way before the ones on Kinsey. Well, why is that? It's to do with order versus proximity. And so we know we can do, under current funding levels, about 1,500 feet of this treatment every couple of years. And it turns out that Burroughs matches up with Scott and Hoff. They're next to each other. It makes sense for us to clump those 3 projects together. That comes to about 1,500 feet. It gets things slightly out of order, but Kinsey, with the length of that project, belongs on its own. And so there's a slight adjustment there. So we may not strictly follow the order, but we think there's a good reason for that with the proximity, the mobilization, the ability of the contractor to complete that project in an area. Begs a question. Well, we've talked about, I didn't mention this actually, SR1. This really affects the first part of the Snoqualmie Ridge development. So that's where these trees were installed poorly to begin with. We learned, and the city changed its development standards for SR2. So there's actually better soils in SR2. We're not seeing these level of problems. We're still going to replace trees there, but we're not going to do the treatment that you saw. We're going to go and just replace a tree. We don't have to dig up the whole soil. We don't have to put in a new drainage system in most cases. And so we're assessing those and replacing them annually as the budget allows. I'll also add that that is true for downtown. So downtown also has good soils, good drainage, just existing. So it's easy for us to replace trees that have failed in downtown Snoqualmie as well as SR2. And that is, yeah, that's a view of how we want our community to stay looking. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and then the next item is on the Stellar Park conversion proposal to create a dog park. Mr. Gamble.
Yes. Good evening, Council. My name is Dylan Gamble. I am the CIP manager in Public Works. Unfortunately, you won't have my soothing English accent for this presentation. Hope you bear with me.
You could
but-
do it.
Yeah, I could try, but I believe this is recorded, and I would rather not. So, okay. So to begin, what we're looking at here is a conversion of part of Stellar Park, specifically the ball field, and converting that into the Ridge's first dog park. So what you're seeing here is Stellar Park. You can kind of see the playground in the bottom right, in case you're familiar with it, if you've been to it. You can see the bathroom facilities and then the courts there as well. But what we're looking at really is this red highlighted area, which is the outline of what we're proposing the fence line be for the dog park. So the dog park would be fenced in. It would incorporate the backstop, which is an existing structure of this field. And this field currently does not have any pitcher's mound dirt kind of structures that you see in some other more formalized baseball fields. This would be more akin to a t-ball field. So it's smaller in size, and it does not have as many of the amenities and other details that bigger fields in our city do. When we identified this, we knew that we wanted to kind of capture some of the lessons learned from the other dog park we have in downtown, approximately downtown, in the Three Forks area, which is out by Centennial Field. One of the first ones is to accommodate in access and exiting of the park. So we have here the little square box that's to indicate what I've been nicknaming a doggy foyer, or it's essentially just a double gate structure. So a little squared off area where people can kind of bring their dog in, shut the gate behind them, and then work on the next gate, kind of preparing people to engage with the people inside the park. The other details, we wanted to account for the trail system that's actually kind of looping the backside of this field. So where it starts to curve here, there's actually a trail hidden in this photo. So you can't quite see that as part of this. So those are the physical structures. It's predominantly fencing, as you can see here, but there is going to be other kind of components that would need to go with it in order for it to function well. A couple examples, those being doggy bags stations and additional trash cans to account for a kind of change in use like this. In addition, we'd want to have some signage to discuss what the rules of the park would be, mimicking the kind of rules and requirements that we have for our other dog park, as well as many gates and other things that kind of go with a fencing structure. Do you mind moving on to the next one? So what I have here is a list of the proposed construction changes, which I more or less just went over with you, but here they are in listed form. I do want to call attention and acknowledge that this would be a reduction or a loss of this t-ball field. It wouldn't be usable for the same reservations that we currently have. Of note of that is that we've looked into how has this field been reserved in the past few years. We have had some reservations, not nearly as many as we do our standard ball fields across the city. But in years past, the YMCA has used this for kind of smaller league details. But we have quite a few options for them and believe that we can accommodate their programs at other fields and other locations throughout the city. So it's a bit of an awareness and acknowledgement that's a thing. The other one is a T-ball league that historically had used it, but recently stopped and has chosen other fields because of price and value and probably proximity to other amenities that I'm not so connected to. So that is the shorthand, but it's just it's a pretty big acknowledgement. When we were looking at how would we accommodate a dog park, there isn't as many just wide open spaces where one would fit that would not have impacts that are too detrimental. It's really about finding something that fits and works. This is what we're proposing. We believe it's our best choice. We are really looking at Snoqualmie Ridge, given the geographic balancing that we're going for here. The Ridge currently has no dog parks and yet represents a pretty large percentage of the population density. So that's a major aspect of why we wanted to select this location. And then if you don't mind jumping to the next one, I kind of jumped us around a little bit, but here is the why was Dylan even looking into dog parks in the first place? So this is some details that I pulled out of our Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Plan, PROST plan. It's essentially a deep dive for the council members who weren't here. It's our master plan for our parks and trail system. So it included some CIP details on how we're going to fund things into the future in the next 6 years. And it also did a pretty extensive review of what do the citizens want to see, what do they want to see changed, what do they want to see more of, what are ambitions, dreams, hopes, everything of that nature for our park system, and then ranked, and then we got the data from that. This is me pulling from that data section. So I just called out here the desire for off-leash dog parks. Of course, you'd expect there'd be lots of things that came up in that review. So please do look into that if you'd like to kind of see a breakdown further.
Councilmember Testman.
Just a question on when was this? Is this from one survey or multiple surveys?
Yeah.
I see 118 respondents. I'm just trying to understand, is it a recent survey?
Yeah, absolutely. 2024.
2024,
So it was adopted towards the tail end of 2024. And this data comes from a few different sources. We did a online mapping software. So you could do an interactive map where people could post pins and say, I would love to see such and such here, or please get rid of this, or whatever they said. We had lots of comments. As well as we had a few open houses where people could come in and put pins on physical paper and talk to staff and staff directly, and we could get that feedback, and that got incorporated, as well as we just had a survey that went out, and I would say a lot of the results came from that survey, but a lot of positive feedback from the map as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah. And then off of that list, I would imagine that an off-leash dog park would probably be cheaper than like an aquatics facility or so. You know.
I believe
It
so, yeah.
depends.
We could put an aquatics facility in the dog park, I suppose, for dogs.
Nothing.
I don't know what the cost or something like that. could
Splash
be.
pad.
But yes, you can see there's many options. As you could imagine, we've had history too with how previous PROS plans have been implemented and kind of the background of that. This has been something that's been coming up. We've heard about it as staff, as our employees are out working. Dogs are oftentimes being, what do you call it? When you throw the ball for your dog. That happens a lot at our parks, right? Whether it's off leash or not. And oftentimes as part of that conversation, we hear the why, which is, well, I don't want to drive all the way to downtown or to some other field or location. Hey, while you're here, why don't you go figure out how to make a dog park happen? That'd be great. So in part, this is that part of that process. Some of that's informal. This is the very formalized version of our input and recommendations.
Councilmember Testman.
Is the intent for the additional gate for trail access to be double as well?
One more? No, just the one. Trying to control costs here. I was anticipating that the primary access point was going to be the parking lot, and that the trail was kind of going to be a secondary access point. And so prioritizing that, did the double gate there. If this is one of those things where I just had to make a call on what I thought the best practice would be, and this is it.
Okay.
But open to suggestions and
Yeah.
public feedback and
Follow?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just worry that I guarantee you people, carelessness, whatever, they're gonna leave the back gate open. People are gonna walk in through the main entrance and their dogs are gonna go out the other end.
yeah.
So
Councilmember Johnson.
Then one other thing then for me is something that's very popular at dog parks these days is to have a smaller section that's for smaller dogs or other kinds of concerns with certain dogs with certain behaviors, etc. So is the intent to have a separate closed-in section that would be similar to that?
We tested this actually at Three Forks,
Mhm.
and it was not very successful.
Okay.
So I wasn't intending to based on that lesson, but this is a different location with different dog population, I suppose. I'm certain it could accommodate it. It's also something we could probably approach after we build this main structure. There wouldn't be anything stopping us from kind of coming back and installing a shorter fence or a light fence. Okay, do you mind? I think I'll go back one. I think we're getting to the questions as we go. I think in closing, I just want to state that what our next steps are is to actually kind of go beyond this broadcast. So in a sense, we're having a public meeting, but what we'd like to do now is work through our social media information pages and kind of outline that this is an intended thing, as well as physically sign this park. So I'd like to create a QR code and an informational page on our website that would say this is the city's intent moving forward. This is one of those changes that impacts people's lives and they can have concerns, and it is way better to get far ahead of any sort of information. So we'd like to go about that. That's our next step, so to speak. So first council, now you all know. Now we'd like to see what the public thinks, unless you told me to stop right now. And then now we'd come back to you with recommendations, next steps, and lessons learned and feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Let's see, Mr. Harder, I think you're next with some website information for us.
Evening, Mayor, council members, staff. I'm Scott Harder. I'm your communications coordinator. And I'm just here to share some updates to a few pages on our website that have been ongoing for a while here. So first off, I'm going to talk about the waste management page. This is something that we added recently. If you don't know, there's a few ways that you can get to it, but the most common way, if you follow along here, is through the services page. Previously, when you went here, you went to the page that Waste Management provided to the city of Snoqualmie, and they had, they were the ones that managed that. It didn't allow us to give any context about our contract or frequently asked questions or anything. So the first thing that we did recently was add the rate comparison chart right there. As you can see, it shows Snoqualmie rates alongside 4 neighboring cities. Snoqualmie ranks second lowest, just behind Issaquah, as well as a section on bill saving options. As I scroll down here, over here, and then a frequently asked area that addresses common resident questions. And each of these, there's quite a few, but this over here. Okay. So we have plenty of different Q&As. We worked with Waste Management and some of our staff members to put together some of these questions and answers for people to see. And then we did promote this across all social media channels on May 28th, so that everybody could check that out. The second page, oh, and by the way, for all these new pages, we've been incorporating short URLs. It's kind of difficult to get to. When people call us, it's kind of, you'll say snoqualmiewa.gov/ yada, yada, yada. This one is easy. It's just snoqualmiewa.gov/WM. Makes it really easy for folks. The next one is the flood information page. You can guess that, snoqualmiewa.gov/flood. And to get to that one, if you're just on the page, you'll go to your government, you'll go to Parks and Public Works, and flood information is down here on the left. What we did, this was almost, I think, my second or third week here, Mayor. Actually, it was the first week. I remember that now. This update, so it went live back in March, and what's different about this page is that it integrated data from the King County Flood Control District. So you can see here on the left, it integrates real-time water level readings, gauge statistics, and cubic feet per second, CFS, flow data. This goes in sometimes when there are alerts, the alerts pull into here. These are the alerts that you see sometimes at the top of the web page. If you scroll down, we brought in there's a bunch of information all over the website, and we just kind of brought it in and consolidated it. So we have flood preparedness during the flood, after the flood, along with some other information here in the middle. And of course, everybody wants to know about the typical road closures. This is a clickable map that opens up very large so people can see. And then down here at the bottom, some more information that was on another part of the website, just more external links to flood services, transportation updates and alerts, and then even more information right there. And then last but not least is the snow page, snoqualmiewa.gov/snow. To get to this one, it's the same, Parks and Public Works. This is under Parks and Streets. And I think I gotta scroll down. Where are you? Removal and plow routes. There we go. On this page, there's front and center what most people want to know, how the snow plowing works, what are the priority routes. This opens up as well into a very large page so people can see how that works. We've also included more, a lot of people on social media were asking about our de-icing practices. We included that, along with plenty of different documentation about the snow program and how Public Works operates. That's it for the web update. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harder. All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. I know we've been going for a little over 2 hours now. Do we want to take, is there any objection to a 5-minute recess? See no objection, we'll recess.
Can we do that after public comment?
You can, it's just that you're losing council members because we need a break. So it's 8:10. We'll just take a break, a recess until 8:15, and then we'll start back with public comment.
Here I am. Run over your backpack there.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's just the angle of the wheel.
All right, it's 8:15 and we'll turn from recess now. The next item on the agenda is public comment. At this time, we will provide time for public comment on items not on the agenda and for potential land use in unincorporated UGA. Comments on agenda items will be taken during the discussion of each of those items. Public comments are taken in person or in writing that may be submitted in person, mail, or email to cityclerk@snoqualmiewa.gov. A few ground rules. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Come forward to the podium and state your name and city of residence for the record. Direct your comments to the council as a whole and not to individual members. Council members, staff, and I will listen to your comments and consider your input, but will not respond during this meeting. With that, do I have anyone? No. That, if anyone would like to make public comment, please approach the podium.
Hello, Deborah Landers. I'm in North Bend, representing North Bend Art and Industry. So I wanted to share that we have Art Off the Rails coming up on June 20th. This is a really kind of an important festival for our Snoqualmie Valley. I don't know if you know that it was a brainchild of a collaborative event between the Snoqualmie Arts Commission, North Bend Art and Industry, and the Northwest Train Museum. That was 4 years ago in 2022. This will be our 4th iteration. So again, it's a collaborative event. It includes all 3 of those organizations. This year, on June the 20th, the city of Snoqualmie at your train depot park, you'll have musicians, 3 different musicians between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. You'll have food trucks, and there is a community art project that's very cool. The train museum at the campus, hopefully you guys have all visited the campus because it's very cool. They're going to have a great musical group for the entire time, and they will also have a community art project. And then in North Bend, we've got about 70 artist booths, food trucks, food, music, and the same community art project, which was a a suggestion from the Snoqualmie Arts Commission members, Maria and Nicole. I think you know them. So wow, I'm stuttering because it was so exciting earlier. So sorry, sorry. So the idea for this year's art project is the threads that connect us and the railway that connects us. So again, please come out. All three areas have some very cool activities. Art Off the Rails, June 20th. The other thing that's coming up is the Art in Nature Walk. And this is very cool. Started last year in Carnation. Wood rounds have been handed out to artists to create amazing pieces of masterpieces that will be hung on trees along the Snoqualmie Trail. So this year we have 3 locations: Carnation, Falls City, and North Bend. The North Bend location has 70 rounds, 70 different artists, with the youngest artist being 6 years old. The art is amazing, and the access to the art is at Tolt Farm. Next year, we would love to include Snoqualmie and do a portion of the Snoqualmie Valley Trail that affects Snoqualmie. We just need some support to make that happen because we have the artists and we have the volunteers, and that's all I'm going to share. I do have flyers.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to make public comment?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jesse Skarupa and I live on Snoqualmie Ridge. I actually didn't expect to provide comment tonight, but I felt compelled to after listening to the presentation by the Department of Corrections. I want to be transparent at the outset. Many of you know me through my work organizing for Snoqualmie Valley Indivisible and the ongoing conversations around the proposed Cascadia Ridge Battery Storage Site. I'm not here tonight in either of those capacities. I'm here as a member of Indivisible and a community member sharing a concern I feel compelled to raise publicly. I want to start by acknowledging why the city's agreement with the Department of Corrections exists. Managing a city budget is hard. Finding seasonal labor is hard. The obligation to maintain our stormwater infrastructure isn't optional. The penalties for failure are real, and so are the safety risks. I respect that you are trying to be responsible stewards of the public dollar, and I don't believe anyone entered into this agreement out of malice. But I think it deserves a harder look. We are paying these workers $2.75 an hour, a fraction of minimum wage. In any other context, that'd be a wage we'd be ashamed to pay. The only reason it's legal is because the 13th Amendment contains a carve-out that excludes people convicted of a crime from basic labor protections. A 2022 ACLU report found that 76% of incarcerated workers in the US report being pressured to work under threat of punishment, including solitary confinement. So while the city describes this program as voluntary, the broader systems these workers exist within makes true voluntariness a complicated claim. With that in mind, I'm not asking the city council to tear up this contract. I'm asking something more modest, that you direct staff to investigate alternatives, workforce development partnerships, competitive seasonal wages, cost-sharing arrangements that meet our legitimate operational needs without relying on labor that experts have called exploitative. And if this contract is renewed, I'd ask the council to consider what protections can be built into the contract to ensure that participating inmates are genuinely there by choice and not by coercion, and to explore whether the terms can be strengthened to increase the tangible benefits these workers receive for their labor on behalf of our city. They're doing real work for our community. They deserve to be compensated fairly for it. Our city's values should be reflected in how we treat the most vulnerable people connected to our community. Thank you for your time and for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Skropa. Any other persons wishing to make public comment? All right, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Moving to the next item on the agenda, it's item number 16 on the agenda, discussion of potential land use in an unincorporated UGA. Councilmember Holloway.
I just wanted to mention, one, the working group met last week. They gave us a draft of a letter for consideration to King County. The administration is taking a look at that. We'll make modifications. Most likely it's heading to signature and to King County sometime this week. Is that appropriate? Working group will meet again Wednesday and proceed on with our activities. They have developed a draft list of areas of concern for us to deep dive into in letter and move forward with that kind of activity and breaking that out into smaller working groups. Did I miss anything? Andre, or Kat?
You hit it.
Okay.
Councilmember Testman.
Thank you. No, thank you, Chair.
All right. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is item number 15 on the agenda, discussion of data centers. The Community and Economic Development Director is on vacation this week, so I will fill in and take you through this. In your agenda packet, there was 2 documents related to this for you to look at. One titled Data Centers in Snoqualmie and one titled Potential Process for Reviewing Data Center Regulations. So if we start with the data centers in Snoqualmie, there's an executive summary section laying out what this issue is and the regional issues that have come up around this, particularly around large-scale data centers. Discussion of what local siting concerns might be created, and then a map for you of our cities in Section 3, our current Snoqualmie zoning and where data centers are permitted. You can see in this map that there are 3 areas, the upper right area that's in purple, the bottom left area labeled OP in a light purple, and then a dark purple just to its right labeled PCI. These are the areas where that is permitted currently in our zoning code within the city limits. Then there's Section 4, which talks about what the city can do if it wants to look at that. And zoning 5, or sorry, Section 5 lists out the options that are available to you. Option A being to strengthen the current standards. Option B being to remove eligibility. Option C is to establish scale-based tiers. Option D would be to prohibit it as a principal use citywide. And then option E is to establish interim controls. The next section, Section 6, then talks about the areas outside of the city limits where city zoning does not apply. So what applies here is our comprehensive plan for our urban growth area. And this talks about the current zoning that's in that area that might be permissive of data centers, and talks about what could be relooked at. Now, as a reminder, when we relook at the comprehensive plan, that's a thing that we can only do once a year. So, and as you know, we've got a comprehensive project to relook at that along with rezoning much of the ridge. But this is something that could go into that process and become part of that evaluation if you wished it. So then there's some information on source materials and references. So if I could then move you to the potential process, if you'd like to review these data center regulations, I'll kind of walk you through. So then thinking about first the zoning and what you have, options you have available to you, zoning for within the city. And then secondly, as I just sort of touched on, what can be done if you want to relook at the UGA, and the comprehensive plan in that regard. So for within the city, when you look at land use regulations, there's a process. It starts with the Planning Commission. Planning Commission then makes recommendations to the council through the Community Development Committee. And then those come to the council for consideration. There's a process that the Planning Commission will go through to gather public input, which will all be provided to you as part of their recommendations. And so that would be started, that whole process would be started if the council asked for the Planning Commission to take that up and look at it. And then there's a whole supporting process that administration and staff do to support through that process, those steps. So the initial council consideration, that's this discussion, phase one, and a discussion regarding the current zoning, potential land use, and whether the council wants to initiate a formal review of existing regulations. So at this point, policy decisions are not being made whether they should or should not be allowed. Instead, the purpose is to determine whether to have the topic go through further review through that normal legislative planning process, starting with the Planning Commission. So the decision point then for you in this regard is option A, take no further action. Just leave it as it is. Option B is to initiate a formal review process, as I just mentioned. And then there is an option C, which is to both initiate a review and consider an interim moratorium. As I mentioned, and as I highlighted in the map, there are areas where data centers are currently permitted. Now, I want to be clear, the city is not aware of any proposal. We've not received any inquiries. This is not something that we're bringing to you because we're aware that something is coming forward. It's just one of those land use matters that's getting a lot of attention. And so we thought this is something we should bring to you as to whether, and ask you whether you wanted us to look into it further. Councilmember Cotton.
Yes, just, maybe it's a 2-point question. My first question is, this is a very detailed report. I was wondering who did it? What city staff did this?
You want names of staff? I don't know the names of staff.
Department.
Yeah, the Community Development Department. I mean, sorry, let me back up. This involves quite a few people.
Okay.
The legal department's involved, the community development department's involved, I'm involved. There's a lot of folks involved in bringing this forward. The initial impetus to start this was a request from Councilmember Johnson and from me that staff look at this and outline for us, what do our current zoning codes allow? What would be the process if the council wanted to look into this and to bring, sort of develop that, and that resulted in this information which is being brought forward to you. Councilmember Johnson.
Oh, can I finish the second part of my question?
I'll defer. Councilmember Cotton.
Yeah, so with this, and certainly I think, kind of given the state of things going on, and certainly with the, current headlines and such, that it seems that this would be an opportune time to kind of cover both materials or issues at the same time, and, put the resources together on this. My second question was, in the zoning part of things, didn't I see that the some of the coding, it wasn't that they could just come in, it was like there were certain items still in effect that would look at it. So it wasn't a clear cut, they can just come in. That was with certain restrictions or considerations. There was a page that had a table in it about, I wasn't sure what.
Yeah, it's in section 3, you're right,
Okay.
of the first. Yeah, I didn't necessarily want to go into that level of detail unless you wanted it, but basically the zoning that
The
we currently
conditional zoning,
have
yeah.
does allow a process whereby data centers could apply. You know, the, because that land use ordinance is in place, if someone were to apply under that ordinance, they would be vested in this set of criteria. Now, as I said, we're not aware of anyone bringing that forward. And by the way, if we became aware of someone doing that, the council always has the opportunity to move on a moratorium. You can move on that within 24 hours if you so wished. But there's nothing that, you know, we don't want to give you the idea that there's something that we're aware of. We're not. This is just trying to get ahead of things.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, and for me, in bringing this forward now is that a land use that could have massive implications for all kinds of things, infrastructure, residents, wetlands, all kinds of things, can suddenly pop up and become quite an issue for us to deal with. So the idea was to try to get ahead of this where these are popping up all over the country. In some very weird places. I just saw one that is going in apparently next to a big zoo. And, you know, what kind of implications does that have for the zoo? Well, if there's nothing in the zoning about it, then they can do it, apparently. And looking at the map of where this is allowed, I certainly have some concerns. And I think that one really nice thing about doing this now is that we actually have a contract for looking at our zoning right now that's headed to Planning Commission, and they're reviewing the zoning of the city, mostly the Ridge. But I think that this could be something that can be folded into that scope of work without really costing us any resources from other things that may require our attention right now in terms of land use. So I think this was a really opportune time for us to have the Planning Commission look into that. In terms of the question of the moratorium or not, my current understanding of vesting and that sort of thing leads me to think that we probably don't need a moratorium right now. Of course, that's something that is on the table. It's something that we can discuss. But given the timing of when we're doing that zoning look through the Planning Commission, then they'll come to us for the comprehensive plan update. I think that that's just something that would be within that time frame anyway, that we would have done during a moratorium. But there being nothing in front of the city now for us to be concerned about that we know of, we can of course discuss that as a council. It just may not be necessary at this point to go to the full moratorium.
Councilmember Murphy.
Question for the administration or perhaps other council members related to Section 6 with UGA and timing risk. Do we have any line of sight with respect to what King County has on the books as it relates to data centers? Do they have an ordinance? Do they have any policy direction on this merging area of land use?
Yeah, so we looked at the King County zoning for our UGA, right? The unincorporated King County outside the city limits that is in our UGA. And the current zoning does not permit data centers. As you know, it specifically does permit battery energy storage facilities. That came to be over a process that happened over a 2-year period ending, so starting about 3 years ago. So one of the things that we outline in this document, so to try and make sure I clearly answered your question, the county zoning in that UR urban reserve area does not permit data centers. However, one of the things we would do, not in the second section, where we would be looking at the comp plan and the urban growth area, is one of the things we listed is we would now enter into discussions with the county to make sure that they know our thoughts on that, and to make sure that before they began any process to consider permitting data centers there, or allowing, not permitting, I didn't mean as in the permitting process, but allowing data centers there, we'd make sure that a process didn't happen at King County where they came to allow that without us being heavily involved in that. So that's one of the actions that we would take. That's So I don't want to run things together. There's what do we do about our current, within the city limits with our zoning. That's the process that goes through the planning commission and so on. Then there's the process for what we do with the urban growth area. That's our comp plan. And that's working with King County and relooking at our comp plan and the designation there. That would be something we do as part of the annual. We'd prepare for it during the year, but then we'd look to enact something as part of the comp plan revisions that we are planning to bring you by the end of the year. Did I answer your question?
Yep.
Was there another? Councilmember Testman.
Yeah, just to maybe get straight to the moratorium issue, like my understanding of them following our work on the BES issue is they're precisely meant to be a tool to study the issue, study what the current state of the municipal code is and act in the interest of the city. So I don't understand why we wouldn't move forward on a moratorium now to do the work that's listed in here to protect this city. Or not to protect the city, but to ensure that the right land use decisions are made.
If I could, one thing to be aware of is a moratorium significantly accelerates the time frame in which the city has to do work. So, we'd have to largely look to outsource that. We don't have staff capable of doing that. You've got a 60-day window, and then you've got a 6-month, generally, while you can't extend it, generally 6 months is the period of a moratorium. So you have to move very quickly to do things. And so it's just a resource utilization. We'd have to find the resources to pay to have that done. And so that's why I wanted to make a big point about telling you we're not aware of anything. And generally, and to be clear, a moratorium stops taking submissions or processing submissions. So it's very likely that we would know about something coming before it came, which we'd immediately alert you to. And so you would retain the ability to do that in the future while allowing a more, allowing this to fit into existing processes, given that there's nothing that we're aware of. So that's perhaps something to think through. It's just sort of a urgency and resource utilization kind of idea when, as you know, we're using a lot of resources already towards, the other topic. Councilmember Holloway.
Well, and I guess you hit most of it. I've got an alligator right now. If you start to say, I want to go after that alligator 2 states away from here, it's going to take resources to do it. I really don't, it's not at this time. I don't want to do a moratorium because that will involve a lot of resources. That starts the clock going and says, we're going to do something, when at this time we don't have to do something on a schedule yet. Okay? If we get into the condition where we got something that we're aware of, then yes, we can engage that to at least block out that time to do that level of work. But right now, I'm seriously concerned of distracting staff time away from dealing with the best facility.
All right, so in the document on, sorry, let me, one second. In the document on potential process for reviewing data center regulations, just before sorry, I didn't see the other hands. Just focus you on, sorry, let me make sure I focus you in the right place. Yeah, okay, I think I went over it. It's under the heading phase 1, kind of the initial council decision point, that would be, you could make one of those 3 decisions, and then that would direct us and planning commission where to go from there or not go. So, sorry, Councilmember Watton.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur with the notion is that we've got more pressing issues with BES, and the reason is we have yet to get into the depth of all the things that we need to address that with. And if we can pick off a piece or two from this where there's some um, um, conjoining need to, by all means, I think we should address it so that it's of equal nature. But I would concur that we have to be laser focused on the issues surrounding BEST because they are deep and they are numerous.
Councilmember Murphy.
Echo largely what Councilmember Watt and Councilmember Holly were saying. I would say, like, if I were thinking about it, it would be take no further action yet. I think like we should absolutely have this on our radar, and I would want us to be made aware of plans that are coming down into our line of sight. And we have to stay ahead of things like this, right? I think the best was like a lesson learned where we didn't have visibility into what was going on in the county, and we were kind of left a bit flat-footed. So I think even just initiating this document here is a great first step in terms of giving us some options in terms of how to deal with it. I agree though with what Councilmember Watton just said. We have a long list of highly technical response areas that we have to focus on for the best, and that's going to come fast and furious, right? We have a very short window in which to get that through, and we don't know when the application will be deemed complete and the clock will start on that front. So I would want us to be focused there, though with the caveat on the data center issue, would want this to be something that is like, I think, next up, or something that doesn't fall off our kind of radar, because the last thing I'll say is development can move fast, or it's slow until it's fast, right? And I think having us at the ready is a great thing to do. I think this document is a great that I feel very comfortable after having looking through this that we have like some good tools at our disposal and we're ready to jump when the time is right. But I'd be worried about losing focus.
If I could just make sure everyone's aware, if you were to make a decision, you did want something to move forward, but in the ordinary course, not a moratorium. This work would then go to the Planning Commission, which is not otherwise engaged with the best topic. So you would be referring it to a process that is lengthy and does involve, for example, gathering public input. So you would start a process that if you choose a normal course process, not a moratorium process, a normal course process that would not be using resources that are otherwise potentially deployed or being deployed on BEST. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, I think that's largely my view on it is I hear my fellow council members and their concerns about sort of a robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of situation. But what I think is going on with the Planning Commission is that they have a specific contract for zoning, and this would be an opportune time to fold that in, and we could kind of kill two birds with one stone without diverting resources from anything really related to the BESS. That said, that is a process that will be taking months and months to occur. So the Planning Commission, Community Development Department, they wouldn't have to begin work on this right now in even the next month. But it could be something where, a month or two down the road, we come back and say, hey, maybe this is a time where Planning Commission can start that work with that contract that's already in hand, which has to be completed by the end of this year as per Department of Commerce, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Councilmember Tessman.
There's a question for the administration. Is my understanding incorrect that, okay, we're not expecting any applications, but let's say one materialized next week. Without a moratorium in place, does not that application vest?
Yeah. Did you want to answer that? Yeah.
Go to executive session.
No. I mean, this is just a basic, vesting question. If an application was submitted and accepted under our existing rules, yes, it would vest under our existing rules. The the likelihood of something like that happening without us knowing or having some awareness that it was coming is fairly low. Usually when someone's, I didn't say zero. I didn't say zero. I said fairly low. Usually someone trying to explore those kind of things does pre-application inquiries with the city, tries to find out information about available sites and, what, what's available to serve those sites, what facilities and so on. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It is possible. It's just relatively unlikely, that's all. So did that answer your question, hopefully?
Yes, very much so.
Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, no, I'm just personally a little gun shy after everything we've been through with the best ordeal. And I don't know, the risk seems seemingly, so if we do something that's like preemptive, like let's just call it a moratorium, then are we at risk of what's the legal term? Sorry, can't think of it now. It was a long vacation. But are we at risk of bias? There we go. Are we at risk of potentially bias if something comes down and we rush to maybe put in a moratorium at that point?
So I want to get careful, not get in too far into something that I'm going to be told up. You have to go to executive session, but
Okay.
no, the topic I think there would more likely be a question of what's sometimes being described to me as spot zoning or trying to, you can't zone a specific item. The way that you solve that is whatever actions that you're doing have to broadly apply. So I think that you're probably more interested in that question, but City Attorney, do you have anything to add?
No, I think at this point, with the way the landscape is now with the data center, that bias risk is not there.
I mean, just
To add to that, moratoriums in and of themselves are not biased. When the moratorium applies to your own city, you get into questions when you're I don't want to go too far into this. Bias questions come up when you're doing something that is potentially not clearly within your authority, and then allegations can be made. Hey, you were doing something outside of. But a moratorium for your own zoning inside your city is always something that's available to you, and it in and of itself is not a biased act. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, and then I think that another thing to keep in mind is as long as we're looking at this as a policy level discussion about land use in the city, not I really don't want it at that spot on that lot, or this specific thing at that location. I really don't want that. Then that starts to get a little bit more questionable. But we're talking policy here, very high level. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, Councilmember Cotton.
Yeah, so talk me through option D. Would this go before the planning commission?
Option D. There's no option D.
There's a D.
It says change OP and PCI to X, leaving any future pathway to a later overlay or development agreement. It's in the,
Page 114 on the PDF.
On the online, it's not on the screen.
right there.
Got it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So the options in this table
Uh-huh.
are, so were you to start a process, the process would have these options. So the choice for you is, do I start a process? Do I not start a process? Or do I start a process and issue a moratorium? Those are the three choices you have in front of you. If you start a process, these are the choices that the process then could end with.
Except for the first option, which was to do nothing.
No, that could be one of the things that your process comes back and recommends to you. Councilmember Holloway.
Move to accept option B as the direction of the council. May I have a second?
not this option.
Yeah,
down
second.
below. We're gonna have to start calling them different things in different sections.
Could we just scroll to section 7? If we could scroll to section 7. This is the language that would accomplish item B. So perhaps this is the motion you're intending?
If you think that's the verbiage to do option B, then sure.
Second.
Okay.
Usually not that wordy.
Sorry?
I'm usually not that wordy.
The wording here is move to request an evaluation of how data centers are treated in the zoning code and to bring back options to council for consideration. Is that your motion?
Sure.
And the second was, so motion by Councilmember Holloway, second by Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Tessman.
Yes, thank you. I feel like we're literally looking at what this motion would produce. The code, we have literally number 5 outlines how the code treats these things. And the administration's been very helpful in providing courses of action based off of that summary.
Councilmember Johnson.
So I think that some of those bullet points, I tend to maybe more or less agree. Some of those are kind of outlined already, like we have the map. We might be able to get some more specificity, but there are some on there that I don't think that we have yet, like whether the Snoqualmie Mill PCI plan, development agreement constrains amendments or mitigation with regard to this particular type of land use, or bring back code amendments to remove that eligibility. So like we don't actually have that code amendment. So this would say, go and get those things, potentially.
Yeah, and that would be something you'd be, with this motion, you'd be asking the Planning Commission to go do that work, which by the way, does include gathering public comment as well. Councilmember Holloway.
But I think to partially answer your question, I think option B says, do it as part of your normal course of business. Whereas option C with moratorium says, and put the logs on the file, get a whole head of steam going and move out quickly. Okay? I don't want to take logs from a very important fire that's going right now and put it on this fire. I'd rather roll this into existing activities, have existing resources which are not currently engaged in BES, except for potentially the legal office, but get those resources engaged and going as normal course of business.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like, I guess, fact finding for the Planning Commission to focus on as it relates to energy consumption and water consumption and all the things that go into these data centers, and looking at obviously some of the things the administration's outlined with the suitability with our code and the UGA. So I think that process can kind of, that normal course of action process can kind of play itself out pretty well within that that constraint. And I think to Councilmember Johnson's point, the comp plan amendment workflow that's already underway would seem to dovetail very well with kind of what's already occurring. So this seems pretty reasonable.
Right. Councilmember Johnson.
Maybe I don't want to ask that. Never mind.
Right. Any further discussion of the motion? All right. See none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Any further discussion of the item, discussion of data centers? See none. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains approval of the city council minutes, city council meeting minutes dated May 26, 2026, approval of the city council special meeting minutes dated May 29th, 2026, and approval of the claims report dated June 8th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holloway, second by Councilmember Murphy. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there, is there any, council, is there any discussion of the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The consent agenda passes unanimously. Next item is ordinances. Under ordinances is agenda, the first of three. These are all first readings. So please do not read the motion, but just the introduction. The first is Agenda Bill 26-024 regarding ordinance 1323 covered loads. Councilmember Watton, please read the introduction.
Okay, this is ordinance 1323, the first reading. The city has seen an increase in community outreach regarding the escaping of dirt, sand, and gravel hauled in trucks on city streets. Escaping material from trucks has damaged property of other motorists and leaves debris on the roadway. The city seeks to require all loads to be covered when operating within the city.
Council members, is there any discussion? Councilmember Watton.
I'll just lead off. This is an ongoing issue, and especially with the amount of traffic on the Parkway, Snoqualmie Parkway, as well as other areas in the city. And this helps to strengthen our position, and we're already enforcing this with the help of the Washington State Patrol.
All right, any further discussion? All right, this was a first reading. This will come back for a second reading at your next meeting. Moving to the next item, Agenda Bill 26. Regarding Agenda Bill 26024 covered loads. Before we move on, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to Agenda Bill 26-025, Ordinance 1324, E-Motorcycle Amendment. Councilmember Watton, this is a first read. Would you please read the introduction?
Thank you. Ordinance 1324, the first reading. The city of Snoqualmie passed Ordinance 1315 on December 8th, 2025, regulating the use of electric motorcycles. That ordinance defined and set requirements for operation within the city limits. This ordinance amends by adding clarifying language for operator licensing requirements.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on Agenda Bill 26025, ordinance regarding e-motorcycles? Seeing none, council, any discussion? Councilmember Watton.
This is simply helping to clarify that you have to have a motorcycle permit or license as well as a driver's license. There's been some confusion over that, and this just helps to clarify that for the public.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this item will come back to you in 2 weeks for a second read. Moving on to the next item, Agenda Bill 26-028, Ordinance 1325 regarding animal cruelty. Councilmember Watton, will you please read in the introduction? This is a first read.
Yeah, this is first reading of Ordinance 1325, the current municipal code, Snoqualmie Municipal Code, on animal cruelty. Chapter 9.20 was adopted in 1903. The city's animal cruelty code is outdated and is no longer applicable to the animal cruelty enforcement or general animal care control. It is also noted that this reaffirms what we already adopted, and that's chapter or title 11 from the King County code as well.
Right, is there any public comment regarding Ordinance 1325, animal cruelty? Right, seeing none, council, is there any discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, just there's definitely language in there that is outdated to say it mildly. And I'm curious what else is in our code that is of a similar age that contains language that it would be good to update. I look forward to finding out more about that as we go through the code over the next couple of years or so.
You will be finding out plenty. By the way, if I could just thank the council, you've provided additional resources over the last 5 months since I came into office, and we're able to start really moving on some of these. That's a direct result of the resources you've provided, and thank you very much. All right, seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to the next item. Which is Public Safety Committee report. Under Public Safety Committee, we have the topic, Committee Chair, is there anything for you to report?
Yes, there is actually. Chief Brown, is Chief Brown online or?
No, I think the belief was that you were going to merely mention this, but there was
Okay.
no presentation.
I will, yeah. We've got 4 new volunteers that have joined the spring cohort. Keep in mind, we have 18 professionals within the department, and what we're trying to do is mirror the number of volunteers to the professional staff, and is the only active volunteer EMT program in most of King County. So we've got a lot of people who are interested. They'll be coming back in the fall with another cohort of 4 volunteers, but it's quite a recruiting process because there are more people applying than there are spaces. That's the first thing I'll bring up. I will also bring up that in public safety, we did introduce a couple things. First of all, is a coordinated regional emergency management plan that there is some discussion. It happened at the Snoqualmie Valley Governmental Association meeting a couple weeks ago, and there's an interest. If you want to be involved in that, please step forward because that's an opportunity we can meet. And the other one is we have presented and asked the administration to help us assess the risk mitigation concerns related to any battery energy storage system in Snoqualmie. And there are a number of things that we would like the administration to look at. First of all, the insurance and guaranteed payments across the country. We've seen what happens when energy-related disasters occur, and the responsible companies cannot cover the losses. In several major cases, they have either filed for bankruptcy or anticipated to do so because the claims exceed the financial capacity, and that includes the Pacific Gas and Energy in California filed for bankruptcy after wildfire liabilities estimated at $30 to $50 billion. Maui 2023 wildfire disaster has generated roughly $5 billion in claims. Puerto Rico grid failure has resulted in a $1.5 billion in damages. Ohio has had numerous events that have caused millions of dollars in losses. Texas, over multiple years, have an aggregate of $195 billion in losses. And I think that the thing that is most concerning is the King County ordinance adopted in 2024 put a $1 million cap on liability. And when in fact, other municipalities, other states have put general liability insurance requirements of 10 to 50 or 10 to 25 million dollars. It's much larger. Others, and we do not have this in King County, environmental and pollution liability have put 25 to 50 million dollars in place. Community impact and emergency response coverage to cover things like evacuation and hazmat cleanup and decommissioning bonds, which we have not put in place in King County is often $5 to $20 million. There are 16 states that have adopted ordinances around decommissioning process, 16 states, and we do not have anything in place. Hazmat risk, third will be setbacks and site context, fourth, decommissioning, and finally, the nature of the hazard. Data center incidents are of far greater volatility and damage to local communities than, I'm sorry, not data center. I'm talking about battery energy storage systems are far more volatile than data center incidents, and we have to be protected. So those are the things that we're asking for support on. It comes from the point of public safety is there are so many things that impact our community that we have to make sure that we protect ourselves from. And so we implore, the resources from the staff to help make sure that we are doing everything possible to work in coordination with King County so that we can have the right things in place. And particularly decommissioning. This technology is new, and the likelihood that it will become obsolete in 15 years is unknown, but still an incredible impact if we don't have something that says how we exit that strategy, and so that we don't end up with the problem after a company exits. So those are the things that we talked about. Thank you very much.
All right. Any further report under public safety?
That will conclude us for
Okay.
tonight.
Community development. Is there any report from the Community Development Committee?
Actually, I was out of the office at the last committee meeting, so I'm going to defer to Councilmember Johnson.
No report.
Okay. Do this. Parks and Public Works. Is there any report from the Parks and Public Works Committee?
I think we covered it all during presentations tonight, so we're good.
All right. Under Finance and Administration Committee, we have Agenda Bill 26-018, authorization for legal services with Summit Law Group. Councilmember Johnson, would you please read the whoops. I think we're going to, we need the agenda bill. There we go. Would you please read the introduction and motion for Agenda Bill 26-018?
As part of onboarding new contract software, the city is updating various contracts. Summit Law Group PLLC provides specialized legal services related to employment law and labor relations matters. Move to approve the mayor to execute the Summit Law Group PLLC engagement letter.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Washington. Is there any public discussion of Agenda Bill 26, public comment on Agenda Bill 26-018? Seeing none, Councilmember Johnson, would you, are you wanting we've got the presentation available if you would like it, or we can just take questions. How would you like to proceed?
Let's go ahead and, since the hour is getting late, I'd be happy to forego the presentation unless other council members would really like to see it.
All right. Is there any discussion of Agenda Bill 26-018? Councilmember Watton.
So help me understand, what is the new contract software? Are we talking about software? Or are we talking about legal services, or that are?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilmember Watton. As a part of onboarding new software, there was a realization that this contract needed, or this engagement letter needed to be updated. I'm relatively new to the city. I don't know what the past practice was. We're trying to make it right now. And so at the last engagement letter we have for Summit Law was executed in 2016. And so that was discovered as a part of onboarding the software. And so we're fixing that by creating this new engagement letter. And this engagement letter covers the remainder of 2026. And then moving forward for engaging with law firms, our plan is to make the engagement letters cover the biennium. So then probably either late 26 or early 27, I'll be coming forward with engagement letters for all the different firms we work with. And those amounts for those not to exceed amounts would be set as we figure out the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, there's some housekeeping that's going on and sort of some new process to make sure we really are maybe a bit tighter with our contracting. It's not that, it's not uncommon for professional services to have amendment after amendment after amendment, but eventually, that starts to create questions, and it's just cleaner to have shorter contracts. So that was part of the housekeeping that's going on. All right. Any further discussion of Agenda Bill 26-018? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Any further report, Councilmember Johnson?
There is no update on the flood event for this evening. No further report.
All right. We have mayor's report, which you do not have because we just got too busy late last week with Bess, and I apologize, but we will get some information out to you on updating what's been going on, but I don't have that for you tonight. Councilmember Murphy.
I think this should be a pretty easy one, but would you share a little bit about the snow Wi-Fi launch? I think that was really exciting. I heard a lot of great feedback from residents. And I don't know if you can speak to some of how that came to be just really quickly at a high level. I think that would be great.
Yeah, so be happy to. As most council members are aware, we have a real issue with cell service in the downtown area. Not just the businesses, but many of the residents as well. In fact, if you just take a few steps outside of this building, good luck with your cell coverage. So that's cell coverage. That's an issue that we're working on that's going to take a little bit longer. But the thing that businesses, or the thing that we can do for the business community, is to help with Wi-Fi. So with the busy, I have to be careful. City attorney has advised me on this. With the upcoming sporting events that will be in Snoqualmie, we know that we're expecting a big influx of international tourists, especially international tourists, but tourists from all over the country as well. And one of the things that will be very helpful is if they can get on Wi-Fi, which they tend to use instead of, certainly international, instead of cell anyway because of cost features, but allow them to find out more about our community. What are the restaurants? What are the activities that are available? And hopefully keep them in the city longer. So it seemed like a particularly opportune time to try and do something for Wi-Fi. In approaching the Downtown Merchants Association and the Chamber of Commerce, which the Chamber of Commerce has done a survey on this and has survey results indicating this. The number, one of the items in the top three from both of those sources, one of the top three requests from businesses was downtown Wi-Fi. So that's sort of the impetus to try and do something now. So why now and why downtown? What we were able to do is find some money. So in the IT budget, as I think many of you are aware, Director LaCroix has been doing a fantastic job of really negotiating hard on all of our contracts for IT services. And he's been successful at bringing down many of those contract costs. As a result, there was some room in the budget, not a lot, but some room in the budget from which we could fund a 4-month trial. And so that's what we've done. And so it's an open Wi-Fi. It covers the entire sort of downtown area from, it's late, from Railroad to River Street, from King Street to
Falls,
the street outside.
river.
Falls. Thank you. So but it actually goes a bit farther. For example, you can pick it up at the train depot. You can pick it up a fair distance into Railroad Park. You can pick it up at the bowling alley. So that will be running for 4 months. This has been, the business community, the downtown business community is, I don't think it's wrong to say ecstatic. They're very pleased that this is happening. They're very hopeful this is going to make a big impact. And they're very committed to trying to help measure and report back to us what they think the impact was, to help us kind of at the end of the 4 months kind of realize, was this good or bad? Now, funding something more permanently is probably not a thing the city would take on, but maybe something we would help organize. So what we'll hope to learn from this is how big is the demand, help the businesses to see that, and then perhaps lead us into some longer term solution. Councilmember Murphy.
And just last follow-up, who's our service provider?
Yeah, so so we're contracted through a company that does special events, usually sets these things up for special events for short-term periods. The service is provided by Starlink, so it's satellite-based, and so we've got receivers that we've mounted on poles around the downtown area, and then that's how the service is being provided. It seems to be, well, I don't want to end up doing a commercial broadcast here, but it seems to be very fast and very, just a fantastic service.
Great, thank you.
All right. With that, moving on to commission or committee liaison reports. Are there any liaison reports? All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. There be no further business on the council agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holloway, seconded by Councilmember Washington. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Motion passes and we're adjourned.